Let's jump right into it. Number 10. Swan stuffed with peacock stuffed with chicken stuffed with quail. Imagine opening what you think is a fancy roasted bird, only to discover it's like a Russian nesting doll made of meat. Medieval European royalty didn't just eat one impressive bird at their feasts. They created edible sculptures that would make modern turducken look like amateur hour. The preparation took 3 days and required a team of cooks working around the clock. But here's the twist that'll blow your mind. The outer swan wasn't even the main course. It was basically an edible serving platter. The real delicacy was that tiny quail hidden in the center, seasoned with spices worth more than most people's houses. Think of it like unwrapping the world's most expensive present, except you eat every layer of wrapping paper. Number 9. Live eels baked into pies that would escape when you cut them open. Picture this, you're at a royal banquet, someone brings out what looks like a normal meat pie, and when they slice it open, living eels start slithering across the table. This wasn't a cooking accident, this was intentional dinner theater that cost a fortune to pull off. Medieval cooks would create special compartments in the crust, add the eels at the last second, then present it immediately while the creatures were still moving. The technical skill required was insane. They had to calculate timing, temperature, and airflow to keep the eels alive, but not let them escape too early. Modern molecular gastronomy chefs think they're innovative with their liquid nitrogen and edible flours, but they've got nothing on cooks who turn dinner into a live animal magic show. Number 8. Whale tongue served with gold leaf and pearl dust. We're talking about tongues from creatures the size of school buses, prepared like the world's most expensive sandwich meat. Renaissance royalty would order entire expeditions to hunt whales specifically for this one body part, ignoring thousands of pounds of regular whale meat. The preparation process was like performing surgery on a building, requiring specialized tools and techniques that only a handful of cooks in the world knew. But here's what makes this even more mind-boggling. They weren't eating it because it tasted amazing. They were eating it because it was the ultimate flex. Imagine spending the equivalent of a modern mansion on a single meal just to show your dinner guests that you could afford to waste more money on one bite than they'd see in their lifetime. Number 7. Dormice stuffed with honey and poppy seeds, served alive in decorative cages. Roman emperors didn't just eat these tiny hibernating rodents, they turned them into living appetizers that guests could select like picking lobsters from a tank. The dormice were specially fattened in darkness to make them extra plump, then drugged with poppy seeds to keep them docile during the selection process. Think of it as the ancient world's version of interactive dining, except instead of choosing your steak's doneness, you're pointing at small mammals and saying that one looks tasty. The preparation was part culinary art, part animal husbandry, requiring months of careful feeding and timing to get the creatures to the perfect size and flavor. Modern fine dining talks about farm to table, but this was literally cage to plate in the same room. Number 6. Flamingo tongues in a sauce made from their own feathers. Ancient Roman aristocrats discovered that flamingo tongues had a unique flavor that justified the absolutely bonkers expense of importing these birds from Africa. But they didn't stop at just eating the tongues. They created a sauce using ground flamingo feathers mixed with rare spices, essentially making the birds season themselves. Logistics alone were nightmare fuel. Imagine coordinating shipping routes across the Mediterranean just to transport birds whose only valuable parts were their tongues and feathers. Each tongue was smaller than your thumb, so a single dish required dozens of flamingos and cost more than most people earned in years. The irony is devastating. These birds were gorgeous, exotic, and rare, and wealthy Romans turned them into the ancient equivalent of expensive chicken nuggets. Number 5. Soup made from bird's nest, but not just any nest. Nests built entirely from bird saliva. Chinese emperors considered these saliva nests the ultimate health food, believing they provided immortality and supernatural strength. The birds that make these nests, cave swiftlets, literally spit out their homes strand by strand, creating structures that look like tiny transparent bowls. Harvesting them required professional climbers who risked their lives scaling cliff faces in complete darkness, making each bowl of soup cost more than most people's annual income. The preparation process was equally insane. The nests had to be cleaned speck by speck, soaked for hours, then slow-cooked with techniques passed down through generations of imperial chefs. Modern health food trends obsess over superfoods and ancient wisdom, but this takes it to an entirely different level. We're talking about eating architectural saliva because someone convinced an emperor it would make him live forever. Number 4. Hummingbird brains, served one tiny spoonful at a time. Aztec emperors believed that eating the brains of these impossibly small, fast-moving birds would transfer their speed and agility to the consumer. Think about the absurd precision required here. Hummingbird brains are literally smaller than peas, and extracting them without damage required surgical skill that modern neurosurgeons would respect. Each emperor's meal required hundreds of hummingbirds, meaning entire teams of hunters spent weeks capturing these creatures with nets so fine they were basically invisible. The preparation was like performing microsurgery on dozens of patients simultaneously, with cooks using tools that were essentially tiny medical instruments. The final dish was served in spoons made from precious metals, because apparently when you're eating something that insane, regular silverware just isn't fancy enough. Number 3. Giraffe meat, but only the upper neck portion, transported fresh across thousands of miles. Roman emperors didn't just want to eat giraffe, They specifically wanted the neck meat from the highest part of the animal because apparently regular giraffe wasn't exclusive enough. This meant organizing expeditions to Africa, capturing live giraffes, then somehow keeping the meat fresh during a journey that took months. The logistics were absolutely bonkers. They needed specialized cages, preservation techniques that wouldn't ruin the flavor, and transportation methods that could handle a creature taller than most buildings. But here's the part that'll make your brain hurt. They only ate a few pounds from each animal, meaning they were essentially discarding thousands of pounds of perfectly good meat just to enjoy the most inaccessible part. Modern shipping can get fresh fish from Japan to New York overnight, but these people were moving portions of the world's tallest animals across continents using nothing but boats and determination. Number 2. Peacock, completely defeathered, cooked, then re-feathered to look alive when served. Medieval European royalty wanted to eat impressive birds, but they also wanted their dinner to look like a living art installation. This required a level of culinary taxidermy that would make modern food stylists weep with envy. Cooks had to carefully remove every single feather, map their exact positions, cook the bird using techniques that wouldn't damage the meat, then reassemble the entire thing to look like a sleeping peacock. The final result was presented on golden platters, with the bird appearing to be merely resting, complete with its magnificent tail fanned out in full display. Some versions even included mechanical elements that made the bird appear to move slightly, turning dinner into dinner theater. The amount of skill, time, and money required was absolutely ridiculous. Also, wealthy people could eat something that looked too beautiful to be food. Number 1. Unicorn, except it wasn't actually unicorn, it was narwhal horn ground into powder and mixed into wine. Medieval European royalty genuinely believed they were consuming magical unicorn essence, paying prices that would make modern art auctions look reasonable. Narwhal tusks were sold as unicorn horns by traders who understood that reality was way less profitable than fantasy. The preparation was treated like a religious ceremony, with the horn powder measured to the exact gram and mixed into wine using golden implements by specially trained servants. Kings and queens believed this drink would protect them from poison, grant eternal youth, and provide magical powers, essentially making it the world's most expensive placebo effect. The real kicker is that narwhal tusks are actually just really long teeth, so European royalty was paying fortunes to drink ground-up whale tooth dissolved in wine, convinced they were consuming the essence of mythical creatures. Modern wellness trends have nothing on aristocrats who turned dental remains into liquid magic. I'll make similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.